Welcome back to Sigman Sense.
Welcome.
We are going to continue. Do you want to put your lipstick on first?
Do you think I needed some?
No, you look perfect.
Okay, then why are you
Okay,
asking
perfect.
if I
Just
need
ask. I
lipstick?
saw it in your hands. I'm Josh Sigman.
And I'm Brynn Rouse.
I'm a mortgage guy with a passion for helping people with their money and all things business. Brynn is my co-host.
And I'm a marketing girl. I am literally obsessed with it. Oh, and Josh has showed me how to save money. Quite a bit, actually.
Because of her obsession, I hired her to do my marketing.
And we've worked together for 10 years.
We launched Sigman Sense in 2020, a podcast about money. It's a podcast that teaches people how to save more, give more, create wealth, and retire early.
And we recorded and published 34 episodes. People liked it, and it was so fun.
But most importantly, we helped people. So we're excited to announce we're doing a second season. And we're mixing things up. We're moving away from money talks to focus on all things business. Leadership, management, team building, book reviews, hiring, firing, operations.
Motivating teams, lead generation, time management, personality profiling, closing skills.
And of course, money.
And marketing.
We are inviting you to continue this journey with us, and we want your input. What topics would you like to see covered? Email all of your ideas to our podcast email address, sigmansense@gmail.com.
And be sure to click that subscribe button when you visit our channels. You'll get notified when we drop new episodes.
Are you ready? Season 2, Getting Down to Business. Welcome to Sigman Sense. Welcome back to Sigman Sense. We're going to go back and continue the second part of the closing skills piece. And where we left off was we had kind of talked about the 4 parts of sales. So remember, initial contact, building rapport, closing skills, and following up. Then we kind of dove into that closing is not dirty. Like closing skills is about helping people make decisions.
Not manipulating
the people for sure. Then it goes into how
you
people
must use your skills and powers for good.
For
not
good,
bad.
not evil, yes. And for getting laid.
And for getting laid.
Which is for good.
If it's in everybody's best interest,
It's for,
you may
for
use
sure
your skills.
and for like my wife, yes. And then we talked about how people make decisions, the head, the heart, the gut. And then we started the piece about what are the actual closing skills that people should be using,
right.
Which starts with the assumption close, because we had a great presentation. So we go into the assumption, and then if you miss something, then you miss something. So you got to figure out what you missed, and that's the why not close.
Why
and so there's a pivotal piece here that occurred to me when we were taking our commercial break that has to do with high trust sales in the first place. And so it's not on your agenda, but I want to make sure we cover it because I think it's super important. And one of my mentors, Rick, he taught me this years and years and years ago. It's the concept of a triangle for trust. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So there is definitely a difference between walking off the street into a car lot and being sold by a salesperson versus a referral-based business.
Yes,
right? There's definitely, we'll actually probably spend a whole lot of time in the next episode about building referral-based businesses, because clearly it's a better business because people want to work with people they know, like, and trust. So if their girlfriend bought from somebody and they liked him and trust him, then the girlfriend probably does too, right? And so we can all deal with the random auto dialer calling us, and maybe that one time we finally decide to talk to him, that cold call.
Does that work?
I assume so, because there's a billion of them still happening.
What do you do when they call you?
If it says spam, I don't even answer.
Right.
But if I get caught on a phone call, I definitely listen to the pitch.
You do? Every time?
100%.
What if you do not have time?
I 100% will listen to the pitch. Why?
You'll be late because of it?
Well, I wouldn't answer the phone if it was going to be late.
Great answer. That was bait.
It was bait? Yeah, I wouldn't. I feel like I was just tested. I feel like I passed. What do you think?
You totally passed.
But I wouldn't have answered the phone in the first
There's
place.
nothing more annoying. People are like, oh, I'm sorry. I don't know why I answered. I'm walking into a closing. Well, just don't answer.
Then don't answer, right. But yeah, the point is that there's this thing called a triangle for trust. Okay, so we might even call this a pre-close, but it's also a close. It goes both ways, right? It certainly helps out with feelers. So going back to what type of personalities would help, but logically and thought-provoked people, the thinkers and the doers, they appreciate it as well. So what I mean by that is, this is only in a situation where you're referred by maybe your CPA referred you, or maybe your best friend or your mom or your son or whatever. Somebody that you trust refers you to somebody else. Okay. Well, if I'm the one that you were referred to, and I know that your mom was the one that referred me, and I know that your mom has loved me and used me as a business partner for a decade, right? Then what a triangle for trust is you literally picture a triangle, and there's, the 3 legs or the 3 connecting points. And, this goes back to most salespeople don't state what they think is obvious. They don't actually say it.
I like that you said that. Yeah.
Going back to most salespeople don't say, I want to be your realtor. I want to be your CPA. I want to sell you this
We're
Spark.
here so
We're here
I can earn your business.
Right. They don't say that stuff. So the triangle for trust, I feel like people assume people know what that is, but they don't connect the dots. And if you don't connect the dots, then it's a...
Or close the loop.
Right. And
close the loop.
What it is that, Sandy... Sandy referred Brynn to me. Okay. So Sandy, I know Sandy. Sandy's been friends with me for 10 years. Brynn is a buyer that's coming to possibly buy a home. And so the pre-sale is, oh my God, how do you know Sandy? So play along, because you definitely, go ahead, play along.
I've known her damn near my whole life.
No kidding. Why?
Yeah. Because she's my mother.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. So you know that I love Sandy, and she's talked about you forever and ever and ever and ever.
Yeah, she rocks.
And I'm sure you know that Sandy and I worked together for years and years and years, and I trust Sandy implicitly. Clearly, you trust Sandy implicitly. Listen, by the end of this, I know that you can trust me, because I would never want to hurt Sandy's belief in me. Okay?
Yeah.
So you trust her, I trust you implicitly. I hope you can trust me the same way.
Cool.
And literally, that's what Brynn meant by closing the loop, is state the connection on one side. If the assumption is that if I trust her, if you trust her, then we should trust each other.
And draw that out for them, because they need that.
Yeah, they need to remember how they found you in the first place and what the connecting points are. And so
why it matters.
Why it matters. Absolutely why it matters. And so, because I would be devastated, like you might not even consider that I would care because I'm just a dirty salesperson, right? You might not consider that, dude, I would never want to embarrass Sandy's referral.
Oh my gosh,
like,
right?
Seriously, like that would be devastating.
That would be devastating.
If I blew up a 10-year friendship, it would be the end of things, right?
Yeah.
So the reason I said this is a pre-sale and a post-sale is because it should be said part of that rapport building portion of the process, like the initial contact even, right? But now we go back to, remember, we've just gone from the assumption close,
right,
which didn't work. We went to the why not close, and maybe you said something along the lines of, I'm not really sure, but I need more time to think about it. Then literally this might be where you bring back in a high trust sales conversation where you know who referred to you.
Yes.
This is where you would close the loop again and say, hey, Brynn, do you remember how you referred to me?
Yes.
Sandy, I know, is your mother.
Yeah.
Sandy referred you to me for a reason.
Right.
It's not because she wants me to take advantage of her daughter. Okay. So the reason I say that out loud is I truly believe I understand all your goals. I know that you love the house. I've asked all of what your hot buttons are as far as payment, cash close, how long you keep the property for. If you're asking my professional advice, this is the best option for you. Okay. But you can trust Sandy. You can definitely trust me. And so it's just the reconnecting that thing again. That, there's a lot of stuff between here and there in a lot of sales cycles. It's a sales cycle, right?
Yeah.
So, some of these things might last years. You think about pharmaceutical sales or, I've got an insurance friend of mine from college, from Trinity, that is still trying 10 years later to take over insurance within our company. And there's an old school relationship with my CEO. And it doesn't mean she's out. It means once this opens up, you're there. And like literally our kids, we just reconnected again because our kids play baseball against each other. And she asked me a question. If she put the ball in, hey, please keep me involved. And it's like, okay, that sales cycle for her might have been a decade. I mean, literally. But
most people, to be clear, most salespeople
would have dropped off years ago. It's a super kudos to her, by the way.
I mean, that is very impressive, and it'll pay off big.
But the point is that we knew each other from college. Most people can't remember how they referred to somebody in the first place, and most salespeople don't remember how somebody was referred to them in the first place. So reconnecting the dots at the point of closing is important because it is a high trust piece. So I would say that would be the third close if it's a referral based business. It does not work if it's not. Unless it is if you knew up front, how did you find me? Well, I searched the internet and I found out that you've got the most 5 stars and you have the most closings or the most and the most, whatever. then you can say, hey, remember how you found me?
Remember how you found
me?
You
found me because
remember
of
all those 5 stars?
All those 5 stars. There's a reason why I have the most 5 stars in the city. So you can triangle for trust with third-party data and testimony.
Yeah.
But you better have the third-party data and testimony, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So then from there, which personality would you like to talk about? Because there's different closes for different personalities. So going back to...
Do you want to go to the easiest or the hardest?
You tell me, girl. You're driving the ship.
Okay. I think we should talk about the takeaway close because that is super freaking hard. In my opinion, that is the hardest close. And it's very challenging. It's very challenging. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel good. And we don't want to lose a business.
Yep. I love it.
But it's very powerful.
So let's talk about takeaway close for what it is and what it isn't first. So takeaway closes are literally where you have to understand if you use a takeaway close, you are risking the relationship. Like that's the first thing.
And the business. And the business.
For sure.
Either in the moment now or future.
Yep. For sure.
Future business.
Yeah, and there are points where that actually makes sense for both the client and the whoever the salesperson is, because what it's about is recorrecting the path to what does work, because what's happening right now doesn't work. So this works both ways. Just be really clear. Like this is not a salesperson to client conversation, which was what we'll talk about, but it's also the client to salesperson conversation, because if I can't deliver the level of service or desires or like here's an example. I will not return your call after 6 o'clock on a Sunday. I won't return your call at all on a Sunday. It's just a day that matters to me and my family. Right. So if a client requires me to be at the beck and call and text calls, emails on a Sunday, I just might not be the right person for you. And I'm not going to give you what you want. I'm going to let you down, and you're going to, anger my wife and kids, which is more important to me than you. Right. And so that's a point where the takeaway close goes back to let's readjust the expectations.
Yeah.
And if you can do this, well, we're good. If not, it's okay. So, but we don't have to work together. And I think that's an important concept for all salespeople.
Yeah.
I think too many salespeople have commission breath.
Right.
In that they want every deal, and you're not meant to work with everybody because you can't match up personality-wise, service-wise to everyone's needs in the world. Yeah. So that's okay. So let me give you a great example.
But it ties back to the monster prospecting, which was, I think, the first episode in this series. Because if you don't have enough, if you don't have enough leads to choose from, how can you possibly send one away? Yep. And that's as simple as it gets.
Yep. So let me just give you an example of my industry. So this is one that many of you listening have experienced, and now you hear both sides of the story, maybe you'll get a better feeling for it. Prior to 2007, there were liar loans. So you literally could say my income is X, my assets are X, pull my credit. If you've got just not a shitty credit score, A score, basically, you get a mortgage, right? And so I still this day, and we're talking literally 15, 14 years later, to this day, I'll have somebody that bought a house prior to that time, never refinanced. And today is their first time they're getting a mortgage. So their expectations of the amount of paperwork required is based on, I didn't have to give anything, right?
Right.
Well, those days are over. The mortgage market fell apart for a reason, right? So Dodd-Frank comes out with COVID, in the last little bit here, there's extra restrictions. So even today, post-COVID, compared to prior to COVID, there are more restrictions as far as extra audits, extra paperwork, and so on. And so I will monthly have a client that will say, I don't know why you're asking for A, B, C, D, and E. Like the last time I got a mortgage, I didn't have to get anything. Can't you see that I'm a millionaire and I have millions of dollars? I make millions of dollars, and just give me the $1 million loan, right? And literally,
it's like, does it matter why? Like it does. Like one of my good friends, Jen Winnick, she goes, I said, you are like the best client ever. We say we need this, and you say, okay, here it is. I'm like. She goes, really? That's weird. I'm like, yes, a lot of people really argue. And she goes, do they know that nobody cares?
That's funny.
Just
get it.
Just get it.
Yeah. So, and
like,
actually, I like Jen a lot. Hello, Jen. I hope you're listening. Hi, Jen.
Like, what's the point of this arguing? Like, are you trying to delay it further?
Yeah. And I want you to think as a client, put yourself in the other shoes.
Yes.
Like, for sure the realtor wants to get paid. For sure the loan officer gets paid by doing your loan. They're not trying to make your life miserable, so there must be a reason, right?
Correct.
So, but all that to be said, I empathize with the amount of paperwork because I am a self-employed person too. I've got multiple tax returns too. I've got multiple bank accounts too. I've got a very, 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 very complex loan package. And so when I got my own mortgage for myself, I was my own worst client. So I can empathize with, are you kidding me? I gotta get that too. Don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy.
So my point though is that when you go to a takeaway close, let's say that I've had a 30-day closing time frame, and we've asked for all the paperwork, day 1, day 3, day 8, day 17, and now we're getting down to the last 13 days, and there's still elements that are missing, and I'm still getting the same client arguing, you don't need that. I've already given you enough. It's like,
here's the other thing that's happening though. The client's talking to our referring partner about how what they've done and what we haven't done. So now we're fielding two conversations.
Yep.
We're trying to make the client happy, and we're trying to make our referring partner happy so we don't screw that relationship up without telling them that the client's a liar and they haven't done anything that they're actually saying. Like, it's not a good place. It's not a good place.
And this is where you would employ the takeaway close.
Yeah.
This exact when, because if inaction at this point will make it worse, right? Like, if we don't take away, like, say, go somewhere else or give me what I want, basically, then they're going to miss their closing date and lose the house, or we're going to piss off a referring partner.
Right, and
risk
the relationship.
But where we're at doesn't work. And so what I've said in the past is I'll call up the client. I'll say, hey, Bob, listen, I totally understand. I totally empathize with the fact that you need all this paperwork. I'm in the same boat. I just got a mortgage back in January. It's the same exact thing. I totally understand.
I get it.
That being said, if you can't get me A, B, C, D, and E by the end of the day tomorrow, as I've asked for the last 3 weeks, I cannot get your mortgage. I cannot guarantee you to close on time, and I will happily send your loan to whatever other loan officer you'd like me to send it to that can give you better service. I am so sorry you don't feel
go ahead and collect the docs because they're going to need them too.
Right. Right. That's a rude way to say it, but it's true in some ways, right?
It is true.
Yeah, but the whole point is I'll say, look, if you want this, you must do this. If you don't do this, tell me where to send it. I'll happily send you your stuff wherever you want to. So that when I say you're risking that relationship in business, you are. Right? But it's a correction, because if the client really wants to buy the house, that's the point where they say, you know what? I'd rather deal with the devil I know than the devil I don't. I'll get him the docs tomorrow. Right? So apply that to anything. Like, this actually is a real thing in marriages. Right? When there's a certain point with marriages where there's some just nasty stuff going on and grading back and forth for a long period of time, what happens? Sweetheart, we have to go to therapy. If you're not going to go to therapy with me, then I'm going to file a divorce, right? Honey, I love you, but we have kids. If you keep playing poker 3 times a week, I'm going to file a divorce, right? It's the come to Jesus moment where you're risking the relationship, but it gets people back on board to play by your rules, because not everyone is meant to be with everybody, right? Yeah. So takeaway closes are the hardest one to deal with.
I think they're very challenging.
Because people are people, and people like to be liked.
Yeah.
And so that's the hardest thing to say. But if your job as a salesperson is get something what they want when they want it, in my world, I've got to close on a certain date. So if you're not helping me get you what you want, then it's not on me, it's on you, and we just have to talk about this.
But ultimately will for sure come back to our fault.
It'll be my fault.
It'll be our fault.
Yep.
For sure. I was going to say too, the problem with clients that don't play by our rules, and I don't really love that term, but there's a sales process for a reason. And so we do come across people that just don't want to follow the system, right? Yep. And if you don't have enough belief in your value, your product, your service, and belief in that you're doing great things and that your process exists for a reason, then you let them railroad you, which at the end of the day, all it does is now jeopardize all of your great clients that have played by the rules, because they're getting a less great version of you because you're worn the F out by one person that just is making your life crazy and calling you at all hours of the night, and calls you right before you go into your next appointment with the next client,
Right.
So the ripple effects can be pretty devastating. And so I say that to, if you've considered firing a client, or if you know for sure that like this is not a good fit and this is only going to end in disaster, like go dig deep to like take care of yourself and believe in yourself and know that you deserve better because of what you've done.
The other clients deserve better. Like I always, what you said is so right. So one thing we've talked about before in a leadership class, you and I have talked about a lot, is this squeaky wheel gets the grease when it comes to, if you got one bad kid, you got two good kids, the bad kid's getting all the attention. The two good kids are the ones that are like where's mom and dad, right? Yeah. And then it's same thing with employees, right? You're constantly working on and grinding on and trying to help this one bad employee that's not whatever. And then all these good ones are not getting words of affirmation and like, thank you and great job. And right. So what I want, if you're a client, especially, or a possible client in the future, or you have clients, what I want you to hear is the takeaway close is not about you being a bully, right?
No.
It's the understanding that not everyone is meant to work together, and it's okay to have the company's rules, and those company's rules are in alignment with what the client's expectations are, or they're not.
Right.
And either way, if we don't get back to that understanding, then we will end up failing on both sides, right?
Both sides.
So we might as well get the cut the quick and say, let's move forward, or let's not. Either way is okay.
Yeah.
And that's what a takeaway close is. But we have to move forward.
I do. But the last thing I want to say is that a lot of times good customer service is equated to just being really nice.
Or saying yes to everything.
Correct. And that is not the truth. Yeah. Like great customer service and great client experience means telling people God's honest truth, what they need to hear, that's in their best interest, even if it stings. And I think, we get caught in this, well, I just have to say yes and I need to be nice because otherwise, like, they're not going to like me or they're going to think it's a bad experience. Mm-hmm. But it's avoiding all the inevitable things that they have to hear. And so it just propels the problem. Anyway.
Yep.
Okay.
So moving on, let's talk about emotional people. Think feelers, man. Let's talk about feelers.
Let's do.
So feelers, there's two types of closes. There's more than that, but there's two that I think are probably the best, widest used. What is the number one most overpowering emotion that people encounter? What's what?
Fear.
Fear, right. So we have to understand that feelers, the reason why most of the time they're not moving forward, if it's not a I don't like you thing, it's I'm afraid of something. Mm-hmm. Including afraid of the unknown. Like I feel like I should be afraid because a $1 million house. Like I feel like I should be afraid. I'm afraid of what my parents might think. I'm afraid of what the inspection's going to say tomorrow. I'm afraid of the appraisal coming in low. I'm afraid of, right? Mm-hmm. So you've got, can I afford it? So there's the fear is one half of all closes out there for feelers. The other half of for feelers is just getting people, when they're excited, past the point of sale, to experience what it looks, feels, and tastes like to get what they want or to get to the promised land.
On the other side.
Because it's not always fun to stroke a check. It's not always fun to stand there getting measured for a suit, right? For God knows how damn long or whatever. I'm picturing in my mind like a bride trying to pick out that perfect,
I know that shit's fun.
That's fun. Well, it's because you have lots of champagne. But
trying on beautiful dresses all day? Yes, please.
Okay, then maybe that's not a good example. For me,
bathing. Let's talk about bathing suits. That's a bit of torture.
Torture for bathing suits. Okay.
Torture.
For men, like I like to have a nice suit. I like to have nice clothes. I hate the process of getting it.
Yes.
Hate it.
I agree, and I hate it too.
But if I can get past the sale to the moment that I'm dancing with my wife at this event in my tux.
What a great example.
If I can get there, then I'll tolerate the bullshit I've got to do to get there, right?
Right.
So my point is that the two types of closes, first one we'll talk about is called the puppy dog close because it's the easiest one to talk about, right?
Yeah.
Puppy dog closes are for feelers because there's one place in the universe I don't take my children very often. I used to say I don't take them ever. Now I don't take it very often.
Now you have a zoo.
Now I've got a damn zoo. Why do I have a zoo, Brynn?
We bought a zoo.
Yeah.
Because you love your children and they
because I let them go to the damn puppy store. Because I let them go to the animals.
You brought the chickens and the goats in. You brought them in.
What the hell was I thinking?
Oh
So
my
the point is that if you go to a
yeah,
pet
you
shop,
railed me about getting a dog,
right?
which I didn't.
Good for you.
But still,
it's right for you.
He has rabbits.
I'm living vicariously through you. So here's the point: if you take a child to a pet store, and they smell the puppy breath, and they feel the puppy fur, they're not leaving the pet store without the damn puppy.
Unless
There's a
you're
reason
committed,
why.
unless you're committed to your budget.
There's a reason why. The very first thing a car salesman does for your friends is say, here's the keys, let's go on a drive.
Let's go on a drive.
Because once they experience the smell of the new leather and they feel that this one doesn't actually pull left when I'm driving down the road and it feels like a damn Cadillac floating down the river, right? Once people experience that.
River, eh?
Oh, dude, Cadillacs
On
float.
a river?
Cadillacs are like boats on rivers. They just float. They're badass.
On rivers. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So my point is that experience, when people experience that, not all, but the third of people that experience it, that is getting them past the sale. Now it's not about, can I afford it?
Right.
It's I want it.
It's like, I got to have this.
I like it.
Because
it's worth it.
I deserve it, damn
right.
it.
It's whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's past the sale.
Yeah.
So puppy dog close is literally saying, like going back to my first question, are you excited about the property? Yes, I'm super excited. What are you excited about? I'm excited about the backyard. Why are you excited about the backyard? Because we're going to have some badass parties back there. I can watch my kids play in the pool. All those feelings and pictures in the mind are past the sale.
Yeah,
okay?
totally.
As opposed to the other half people that aren't excited, they're afraid. They're afraid
I'm
about
excited
making...
because it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 3,200 square foot house, and that makes me really happy.
So when we go to the fear side of things, yes, there are fear mongers that perpetuate fear as a way to get people to buy. Like if you don't, this 25% off sale is only good till 5 o'clock today.
Yeah, I don't
right?
like that.
I don't like that either.
I don't like that.
That fear is a pressure
First of all,
sale.
I think it's bullshit because I feel like if I really want that, like they'll give me the deal.
That's because you're a seasoned salesperson. I like that about you, actually. But for a lot of people, right, you promote the fear and they'll make the choice, right? Like, I mean, I hate to say it right now, in real estate nationwide,
literally where
people are sending offers, 50, 75, 100, 200,000 over list price because they're afraid of being homeless because they're moving to whatever city, or they're afraid of losing out on their 13th offer, or they're afraid of.
Yeah.
And that's why people are doing it. Right. It's not because they think it's a great investment. It's because they're afraid of. They're not afraid of they're afraid of not getting the house. Right.
Yeah.
So my point is that, when there's those timelines, and if you then will, all that fear stuff is a way to perpetuate a sale, which I don't really like. The flip side is to release and appease and remove the fear. Right?
Yeah.
So
fear mitigation.
Again, going back to if you did a great job with a professional presentation and you've done a true needs analysis and you've identified that this is what will solve you, this is the problem you have, this is what will solve the problem, this is something that you can afford, A, B, C, D, and E, you've gone through it all. This is where a great salesperson can really help somebody that it has that paralysis of analysis, make that next step and that next decision. So let me give you a great example of one that's close to my heart, okay? So my my father-in-law died 4.5 years ago. My mother-in-law, God bless her, cannot make a decision to save her life. Her husband made all the decisions.
She probably hadn't had to.
Yeah, older generation. Her husband made every financial decision, it was just always taken care of, right? So all of a sudden she's inherited a couple properties because then my wife's grandmother died, right? And she's like, what do I do? It's like she couldn't take a step in front of the other because she's grieving. There's grieving in there too. But then also the fear of, oh my God, there's no more income other than what these assets are. I don't want to make a bad decision, so it's better to make no decision.
Yeah.
So she gets this inheritance of a house from her own mother-in-law who passed on. And mind you, a house does have, even though it's free and clear, it does have expenses.
Right.
So every month of indecision that went by, she was paying taxes and insurance and lawn care and electricity and water and alarm and whatever repair came up, because shit still happens to houses, you know, even if it's vacant, right? And so, you know, as a son-in-law, you know, the last thing I want to do is impress.
And this is your wheelhouse.
Right. And even I didn't want to like tell her what to do,
right,
because, you know, there's family dynamics that you want to stay out of. But at the end of the day, 1 year later, I'm like, sweetheart, you got to make a decision. Yeah, trust me on this. Here's the best person for the job. Let's get this property listed. Janine is going to take great care of you. She's going to go ahead and help you out with, you know, how to get stuff out of the property, getting it listed, tell you what to fix, what not to fix. She'll get you top dollar.
Yeah.
This will all be done in the next 90 days. Trust me, this needs to happen. So the point is that the removing of the fear of you know, you can almost see her shoulders drop of, okay, you're telling me like this is what's best? Yes, I'm telling you what's best. When I think about mortgages, right? Like the point of a pre-qualification is not just to qualify for a mortgage. What a loan officer does right, it's to say, not only do you qualify, but you're going to be fine.
You're going to be fine.
You are not maxing out your debt. You are very conservative. So when I can go back and reference the goals that there were, and they find the property, and then all of a sudden I look at it and it's like, hey, good news. The payment's less than you were hoping. Like, look, the reason why I did this 90 days ago is to set us up for this position, because you're good. You'll be able to pay your bills. You're going to be able to save, eat, drink, be merry, have fun. You're not going to be house poor based on your debt ratios, based on this house. You're good.
You're totally good.
So it's the you deserve it close is what it's called.
Yeah.
The you deserve it call. But what it's about is removing the fear.
Remove the fear.
And I feel like that's a blessing and a service that a salesperson can give somebody when they recognize that fear is the issue. They know what the problem is. They don't use it for evil. They use it for good.
Right.
And they help people make that decision. That's a perfect example.
Perfect example.
Because I could have done nothing. Hey, no worry, whenever you're ready. And another year would have gone by, and another 12 grand or more of expense would have gone by. That's not helping her. I helped her make a decision.
And here, what kept going through my head was, we've talked about the use of mentors and coaches and model the masters and things like that. Oh my gosh, just surrounding yourself with people that you trust, that know what they're doing, you agree with, and letting them be in charge.
Yep.
Like have them make the decision, especially like with your mother-in-law, like in a time where you're grieving, like how can you possibly think clearly enough to make monumental decisions you've never had to make before? It's a perfect reason to employ the right people, not even ask them to help you. Like, just make this decision for me.
Enable them to make the decision for you.
Yes, do this for me. I need you to do this for me. And that, I mean, gosh, we've already said there's only so many decisions we can make in a day. Yep. So take some of those off and get your people around you that they will tell you exactly what to do, and then you just do it. Yep. You just do it. It's very simple. No, I love that. It was like, that's a really good example.
Those are really the only two that you need to worry about for an emotional feeler, right? It's either you help them through the process of getting over the fear, or you get them past the sale. And at the end of the day, I told you in the first episode about closing skills, if somebody's stuck, fear or otherwise, what do you say? What does your gut tell you?
Yeah, what does your gut tell you?
Hey, listen, I understand that you're afraid, but fear is not a reason to do or not do anything.
Right.
What does your gut tell you?
Yeah.
And then they say, when you say that, people's eyes will cross and they'll be like, I should do it. And it's like, okay, then let's move forward. I can't tell you what to do, but that's the right decision. Good for you.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and as long as you've surrounded yourself with people that you trust, you're sitting in the right seat.
You know, so I love this conversation, and you know what's fun. I think it's really funny to me that we thought we could do all of this in one episode, and it's going to turn into a third one, guys.
It will. It will for sure.
It's going to turn into a third one. So
it will.
Let's go ahead and wrap this one up, because there's plenty to think about for the thinkers. Which we'll cover next time on Sigman Sense, but we'll talk about what thinkers need and how to help close thinkers. And we'll talk about what doers need, which are gut people, and how to help them make decisions as well, what they need. But we're just really pleased as punch that you guys are enjoying this and staying with us. And
pleased as punch.
And pleased as punch. Are you making fun of me?
Yes,
hey,
I
I'm working on my cursing.
Did you?
So But how can they reach out to us and tell them how to like, subscribe, and all those fun things?
Yeah, for sure. So any questions that you have, any topics that you'd love more information on, you can email us at sigmansense@gmail.com. Also, tell your friends, write us comments on our social pages. We love all of those. And we appreciate you guys' support. And
very much.
Very much. It's every day.
If there's anything you want to hear about, please let us know
Please let us know. But anyways, so cheers. I don't know.
Hey, next time on Sigman Sense. Bye, guys.
Bye.